All all right. So we are live. So welcome to the Global Dialogue for Justice and the Hybrid World Forum and the continuing conversation about the societal genocide in Turkey. But first, let me welcome and say hello, best wishes to the American universities that are in full swing with their semester, the fall semester. So I'd like to say hello to University of Missouri, Point Mizzou, and of course the New Mexico State University, the University of South Florida in my neighborhood, and the University of North Georgia, and of course our global audience. So welcome to the Global Dialogue for Justice. We are on phase 3 of this dialogue for round 1. So today our conversation is going to revolve around what's going on, the latest happening in Turkey. And of course, I'd like to welcome all the time my friends, my mentors, Colonel Hussein Demirtas, Dr. Baram, and today, Dr. Bekesh Chinar. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Let's start with Colonel Demirtas, the author of Erdocide.
So, hello everyone. So, we are always repeating in the beginning, trying to introduce ourselves. So, I was a Turkish naval officer and I was a military diplomat in Romania. So, after this 15 July incident, I don't call this as a coup attempt because the bigger picture shows us that it is not a coup attempt only. There is a bigger bigger game, which was designed by Erdogan's genocidal bureaucracy. So lots of our Turkish citizens, beloved citizens, were killed. Lots of them also wounded. So about 300 Turkish citizens were killed, and more than 3,000 or about 3,000 people were wounded. I was always in Romania when these things were happening. But when I went back to Turkey, this genocidal bureaucracy accused me of killing and wounding Turkish citizens in Ankara. In reality, I was in Romania. So my story began. So then I started a fight against this genocidal bureaucracy. And when I fought against them for this illegitimate organization, they just dismissed me, and then they added my name in international terrorist lists or on this list. So then I started to study on what happened in 15 July. And after in 20th July regime, I call it, and what was happening in this regime under Erdogan's rule. So there is no rule of law in Turkey, and there is a genocidal process. So in this genocidal process, more than 1.5 million Turkish citizens directly victimized, and with their family members, it reached about 5 million, more than 5 million. And now in Turkey, people are dying for justice. So I call this process as a neo-modern genocide, shortly Erdocide. I wrote a book on this, and we are just trying to awaken the world. And we are saying we are refusing to keep silent against genocidal crimes and it is genocidal bureaucracy, because this genocidal regime is a threat to humanity.
So, Dr. Bekesh Chinar, would you like to say hello to our audience, our global audience today?
Hello, my name is Bekesh Chinar. I'm professor in international political science and international relations. Currently, I'm living in UK. At the same time, I'm trying to continue my academic and the social life. And as the Colonel Hussein mentioned that, the current regime is not started in 15th of July 2016. It started earlier than that. And as we know that opposition parties always have great roles in any democracy because opposition's main role is to question the government and also holding them accountable to the public. And unfortunately in Turkey, okay, last 10 years, I think I can say easier, since 2011, none of the opposition party tried to question the government and try to hold accountable to the public. And at the same time, either Turkish opposition parties work with Erdogan or Erdogan policies, that's very, very important, or kept silent. Since 15th of July 2016, this become more apparent that the political parties, except one of them, started working with Erdogan agenda. And then, as the Colonel mentioned, that since 20th of July 2016, now the new regimes established in Turkey, this regime each day try to advance its core aims and objective, which is Erdogan's and the crony try to rule the Turkey until Erdogan die. This is very, very sad and is very, very horrible things. Why? Because this dictator is not only try to rule the country, but also with his cronies try to steal the all wealth of the country on the one hand. On the other hand, as the Colonel mentioned, and I'm sure the Bayram conducted two different research, impact of this regimes on civil servants, academics, and the people. So far, for example, more than 100 people died in the prisons or torture because of these brutal regimes. More than 1 million people, to some extent, being victimized in terms of their wealth, incomes, social lives, economic lives, and the family lives shattered. So when we look at it in Turkey, possibly most people think that everything is going normal. Why? Because Erdogan and his cronies visiting every Western capitals, such as London, Paris, Germany, Bonn, or New York, paying huge amount of money to those governments, companies, in order to buy the weapons, other things, then keep them silent. At the same time, they are paying huge amount of money to the media to keep the silent as well. As the Colonel mentioned that, okay, there's a huge amount of silence in the world, in the Turkey, especially the oppositions in Turkey. And when I said opposition, I'm not saying that only opposition political parties, but at the same time, for example, today when we look at it in Turkish bureaucracy is quite silent, Turkish academy is quite silent, and the NGOs in Turkey quite silent as well. What's happening? Then each day, millions and millions of people, okay, become pushed away or pushed on the edge in their life. That people losing not only worldly benefit, but also they are losing their mental health, and they losing their loved one. So therefore, one way or the other, I think we need to get this to be known by the rest of the world that there are horrible things happening in Turkey. Thank you.
Yes, and that is why we never stop. You know, like it's a weekend, but we are gathering here and informing and sharing your knowledge on what's going on in Turkey. So, Dr. Bayram, please say hello to our viewers. Remind them what's happening. Dr. Bayram.
Yes, well, what is not happening? Uh, I hope you can hear me. Oh,
Yeah.
We can hear you. Do you still have Dr. Bayram?
Hello, Merj. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Dr.
Oh,
Bayram, we can hear
I
you.
think I think if you can hear me, I'd like to talk. I think there is a connection problem with my video or internet connection problem at my location. If you can hear me,
We can hear you loud and clear, Dr. Bayram.
okay, then I'd like to go on. Well, what is going on in Turkey is that I say what is not going on. The government is trying to dominate the public agenda, but in doing that, it is actually trying to divert public's attention from what is going on inside the country to what is going on outside. These days, we are supposed to get into a war, probably a false operation, but false flag operation. But on the news, you see that our fighter planes locked on Greek fighter planes on the Mediterranean waters, this and that. So, public are being, in a sense, were bombarded with some sort of mispropaganda or this propaganda, so that they do not think about their own problems, such as poverty, corruption, unemployment, all those things, all those problems. Public were being told that, look, while the country is in danger, I don't think it is in danger. It's a false operation. I'm sure. I'm 100% sure that it's a false operation to divert public opinion from what is going in the country. But public are being, in a sense, subliminally or openly being told that, look, country is in danger. So while your country is in danger, you are not supposed to make any complaint. You are not supposed to make any complaints about unemployment issues, increasing food prices, or many other things, or problems with freedoms, injustices, all those things. So the situation is like that. The government is trying to keep public silent, so that it can go on doing many things, as pointed out by Mr. Chinar or Mr. Demirtaş. I'd like to stop here. Thank you very much.
Dr. Merge, we are not able to hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
so before we continue, I'd like to invite our audience to take a look on the recent webinar that we joined with the Advocates for Dignity based in Australia. So we shared, very important, like what's going on there, and I think it's so important that we let people know that there are organizations that are doing great effort on making what's going on in Turkey known. It's a global engagement. So every time we had an opportunity to share these wonderful organizations, we'd like to do that. And also, we'd like to invite other organizations to take a look at what we are doing here at the Global Dialogue for Justice. And, this is a world forum that we engage people from all walks of life, from different places, different culture, and we want to learn from each other. And the societal genocide in Turkey is our main topic for round one of this Global Dialogue for Justice. And this is our phase 3, and we still have the final one coming up on September 5th. And we invite you to join us and support every effort on organizations and of course the people, the very courageous people that are tirelessly working to support and fight for justice in Turkey and many places in the world. So let's go ahead. Colonel Demirtas, there are so many latest happening in Turkey that is so horrifying, that is so really hard to take. I mean, when you look at this is why it's so important that we share this with the rest of the world. Colonel?
So what is happening in Turkey? So, but I need to highlight something. If something is happening in Turkey, it means there is something that it is happening in the world. And especially after 9/11 incident, the globe we feel that the globe is so tiny, and every incident on some part of the world directly affects the other parts. So we are focusing, or we are pronouncing always Turkey, but it's not limited to Turkey. So what is happening in Turkey is a genocidal crime, and this genocidal crime, this genocidal bureaucracy, this genocidal dictatorship is a threat to humanity, not only the Turkish citizens. So what is happening, but in this context? In Turkey, there are lots of systematic tools and methods which are applied against Turkish citizens. And every kind of values are being exploited. So religious values, civilizational values, humanitarian values, political values, every kind of values are being exploited. And every kind of values also, or vulnerabilities, are also being manipulated. So humans are being manipulated. For example, the refugee issue is a very strong manipulative tool for Erdogan against all the humanity. And now, especially, I want to highlight there is systematic torture in Turkey, especially in the prisons. And most actual problem, I can say most recent problem, and the most affecting problem, touching problem in Turkey is this genocidal bureaucracy are killing people by preventing medical treatment in prison cells. And they are doing this systematically in an organized way. So first, they are just accusing people being terrorists, which is in reality not so. All innocent people, they are just accusing being terrorists. Then they are detaining, and they are in these detainment centers, they are torturing systematically. Then when some person applies to be free for just medical treatment, so there are lots of ways to detain people with judicial control measures, but they are not doing that. They are just rejecting systematically these all applications. And this genocidal bureaucracy waits until the last minute for that person, which will be dead. So, for example, at the 4th level of cancer, for example, and in the half of this 2020, there are 8 people who were killed with this method, I can say. So people are dying. This genocidal bureaucracy killing their own citizens, and they are just deceiving the global public and the local as well. So there is no rule of law, and there is an obvious dictatorship, which is a genocidal dictatorship, and the opposition parties are also silent, and the local institutions and global institutions are also silent. And as Dr. Çınar said, these politicians are collaborating or keeping by standing or staying silent in these two ways. They are just feeding this genocidal bureaucracy. And they are just being partners of genocidal crimes. So what is happening in Turkey? This is happening in Turkey. So, Dr. Merch, we are not able to hear you. Yeah.
All right. Sorry. So, Colonel, before I go to Dr. Baram and Dr. Chinar, I'd like to do a follow-up on that, that the values is being manipulated and the refugees is being used in Turkey as a weapon. That the partnering countries, or what they say, countries that are advocating for human rights, they are not able to do anything because of the fear of what Erdogan might do if they question and they question what's happening in Turkey. So this is very, very hard to do, and it's so critical that something must be done. But how do we do this? How do we tell the global community that is deliberately using the refugees and other, the values, the religious values is being manipulated? This is very hard. And so what will be the steps, the very, very first steps that must be done to call out the countries that's being manipulated by Erdogan?
If I may, okay,
Yes.
first of all, okay, we need to look at the fact. The facts are these. Since 20th of July 2016, when we look at Erdogan regimes, okay, they visited Western capitals. They signed a new agreement, trade agreement, especially with the weapons. For example, in Britain, they came that the 100 millions, they went to America about possibly more than that. They've been in Paris, they signed another agreement. They've been in Bonn, they signed another agreement. I think, first of all, we need to tell these people of those countries, which I mentioned that, okay, your weapon lobbies or defense lobbies, okay, working with your government and this brutal regime in Turkey. Now the Dest regime now start the war in Iraq, northern Iraq. They start the war in Syria. They send the militias and military people to Libya. Now, as the Dr. Bayram has mentioned, that now it try to engage the war with Greece, whatever it is. Now this, as the Colonel mentioned, that this regime is not only threat to the Turkish nations, Turkish people, Turkish public, but also this regime is threat to the region as well as the global humanity. That's the one thing we need to inform these. Secondly, as you mentioned, that these people, they are very good on propaganda. There's a huge amount of propaganda in Turkey in order to keep the public not to hear the reality of the life in Turkey, what is happening in Turkey. Okay, that's very, very important. Then also this regime making huge amount of propaganda to mislead the public, not only Turkey, as well as the every part of the world. We will tell the truth. As the Colonel mentioned that, for example, in prison life in Turkey now become the kind of death chamber. Okay, just imagine, every week, we hear that people die in prison due to the chronic illnesses such as cancer and other illnesses. Why? Because they had been denied their medical treatment. That's very, very important. Secondly, when we look at the babies and children's, okay, some of them living last 4 years with their parents in prison, these children's basic education right been denied by this government. There is no school in prison. Okay, then these children around nearly 1,000 children living with parents because there is none look after those children out of the prison. Okay, their basic education being denied. Then there's another torture. Additionally, very, very importantly, we will tell the people that there's nothing to do with religion. For example, this guy is, using the Islam in order to make the more propaganda than tell everybody that, oh, he is the new Messiah or new, expected guy in the Islamic world. He's just emerging. He's not. And we need to tell people. Okay, further, that's very, very important. That is the why these discussions is important. That okay, if we're gonna keep silent, more people going to die. That's very, very important. Then more people, more family going to be break. Because listen, it's such a stupid things. I can't understand. The court, okay, punish the people without any evidence. Okay, they understand that. Okay, they punish them. They give the, let's say, 6 years, 4 years, 5 years prison terms. People serve that terms 4 years, but still these people are not being released. Just imagine people serve the full terms, okay, the full terms, prison terms, but those people still not being released. And additionally, for example, last week I spoke on one of the judge. He said that he spent 3 years in prison, 1 year in just cell. Okay, what kind of crime this judge committed in order to spend a year in cell alone? Then he come out from the prison cell, then he's not going to integrate in the society, he's not going to integrate with his family, he's not going to integrate with his children. Look, you are not stealing the life of the people, but at the same time, you are completely destroying the humanity. Okay, then we will tell the truth to the people. Then that will stop.
So, Dr. Bayram, these things that are happening needs urgent attention, not just with the world, but really it's with the human rights organization like the European Court of Human Rights. They have a very big role to play. And how do we reach out to them? How do we make them move and act? Because what's going on is it can't wait like months. It's really critical that there must be action to be done to help the people in Turkey right now.
Organizations are in Turkey. For example, I myself in contact with Human Rights Watch or Amnesty International or any other organization. They are very active and they are reporting what is going on. There is no problem with what they are doing, or there is no problem with their reporting. The trouble is we are facing a government that, how should I say, that has no respect to law, international law, or principles of humanity. Believe you me, this government do not implement the decisions of European Court of Human Rights. Believe you me. Even the decisions of verdicts of European Court of Human Rights is not implemented in this country. Make a check on Google, you will see many examples. For example, last time, if I remember, he talked about Selahattin Demirtas, Osman Kavala, and there are many people who are not that famous. Even decisions of the European Court of Human Rights or United Nations, I think there is a court, United Nations Court as well, Human Rights Court, or some sort of committee that work under the auspices of United Nations, I think. even decisions of that Human Rights Committee is not respected. The world should know about it. Even the decision of the Constitution Court is not implemented. Whatever I say is proven. I'm not actually, how should I say, insulting or making up some sort of stories. No, this is real. We are living in these conditions. We are facing this kind of government. As I said to some people in my one of speeches, we are living in Inquisition period of Europe in 21st century in Turkey. Believe you me, because we are facing some sort of medieval ideology, which is called political Islam, that their mentality is fed with some sort of medieval edicts, medieval fatwas. Believe you me, they don't say this openly, but this sort of ideology is being actually widespreadly widespread among all the grassroots. These people think that lying is a virtue for them. Believe you me, in this political ideology, a political Islamic ideology, lying is a virtue for them. Lying is a sin for an ordinary person, but lying is virtue for them. Propaganda, mispropaganda, or stealing, or corruption, whatever I say, or you know, whatever ISIS did in Syria, I said it is perfectly legitimate according to this ideology. Whatever they did is perfectly legitimate, and we are facing a similar ideology in this country, and those people think that actually killing people, not directly but indirect methods like preventing treatment, as Colonel Hussein Bekir Çınar mentioned, I think, killing people through cutting their means of lives, such as confiscating their property, confiscating their bank accounts, stopping them working in private sector. Just recently, I think one of the MPs named Ömer Faruk Gergerlioğlu, he actually sent a tweet saying that one of the victims of this regime complained that, sir, I found a job, probably minimum paid job. This guy could be a doctor or an engineer or even an academic, but in this country, since it is forbidden to work even in private sector, so people cannot work on how should I say, cannot work officially. They may work unrecorded without social security, and they are so underpaid that it is even under that minimum wage thing. And that guy was complaining that, look, sir, I found a job at a let's say minimum wage price, and next day some intelligence officers visited my boss asking him to sack me, otherwise they would close down or shut down their business. This is no joke, and this is reality. And as you know, I prepared some sort of social burdens of the state of emergency rule implemented by this government. There are thousands of similar stories stating that after years of struggle, they found some sort of jobs, but next day either some tax officials or intelligence officials or some police officers visited or phoned the employers, asking them to stop employing these people, or else either their businesses will be shut down or they will be facing heavy penalties. Some sort of governments, will find some excuses, so that this is the situation. We briefly we are facing a government who has no respect to law, no respect to human rights, no respect to values of humanity. People in free world or inside, doesn't matter, should know about it. They are facing a habitual liars, as I said, in their ideology, lying, mispropaganda, dispropaganda, black propaganda is a virtue for them. They do it without blinking their eyes to make scores in their ideological heaven. This should be enough, I think, for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Varam. That's very enlightening. Colonel and then Dr. Tunar, now that we're learning that those organizations, the human rights organization, are actively, they're trying to do their job, but they face enormous roadblocks from, the kind of the things that Dr. Varam has said. So is there a way for there's a meeting that can be done among these organizations that they can come together and also meet with the victims, or the experts in the societal genocide in Turkey? Can there be a way to meet with them collectively and then discuss what we're discussing here with all the proof and the evidence that's happening there? Is that possible?
So it is possible when we believe in rights instead of interests. And when we say rights are always the ultimate values, the most important values, and when we come together just to defend the rights, not the interests, then we can do something, I think. So we are just trying to build communication channels like this Dialogue for Justice. It is dialogue for justice. Then we need to communicate with each other. And we need to understand that all the global institutions, the public, the opinion must understand that this genocidal bureaucracy produces only genocidal generations. So they are producing new generations, which is a very, very, very dangerous for humanity, which is they are just producing similar generations. So they are genocidal bureaucracy. They are just building a genocidal bureaucracy, and this genocidal bureaucracy produces genocidal generations and victims. So these ruling genocidal generations, future generations, and the victims of these families, victims of these citizens, victims of this genocidal process, they are children. So Dr. Çınar said there are about 1,000, more than 800 children, babies and children are detained in the prisons. So it means we will have a very big problem in the future to rehabilitate these children. So there will be more and more complex, complicated conflicts among generations. Hate will be feeding, or the hate feeling will be feeding these conflicts. So institutions, Amnesty International and others, humanitarian institutions, human rights institutions, they need to understand the capacity of this problem, how huge it is. They need to see that, they need to understand that, and then we need to trigger the people's minds against injustices, illegalities. So crimes feed new crimes, hate feeds hate also, and we cannot have a peaceful world in the future because both are feeding just the conflicts. So by dialogue, by building communication channels, by awakening the world, we need to trigger all the people, all the public opinion against these genocidal criminals. Just these came to my mind.
And Dr. Chinar, what do you think we should do to get the attention of these international human rights organizations so that they will be able to really have an in-depth understanding of what's happening and maybe toward an action and help the people over there?
I think, first of all, I need to highlight these human rights organizations, for example, Amnesty International and others, they are not allowed in Turkey to collect the evidence. For example, one of their leader, Osman Kavala, he has been in prison without proper trial. Why? There's a very simple term. They said, oh, this guy is helped with terrorists. In Turkey, people, anybody's happened, anything else. For example, yesterday, one of the lawyer, she passed away from the hunger strike. Okay, today, I think somebody's tried to shoot a prosecutor. They say that, oh, this is the woman, he passed away, the solicitor, because he has the link with the terrorist organization. Now terrorist organization try to kill the prosecutor. Okay, there's nothing to do with it. Okay, it is very easy, as Bayram says, that lie is the ordinary words, sentence, daily usage of these people. They lie every second. Okay, that's very important. At the same time, for example, Dr. Bayram mentioned that one of the MP, Gergerlioğlu, he is the member of Human Rights Commission of the Parliament. Even they are not allowed to visit the prisons and okay. So therefore, I think most of the right organizations, they knew that it's very, very difficult in Turkey to collect evidence. Then what we do, we need to tell these people that, look, you are facing huge amount of problem due to your representative in Turkey. These things happens. What is happening? For example, this, as Dr. Bayram said, that this regime does not respect the law, does not respect the international convention, does not respect the International Human Rights Organization report. For example, I think a few months ago, then one of the human rights organization in Europe published a report. Then the next day, Turkish government denied that, oh, this report is false. Okay, just imagine, okay, some people say, oh, one of the greatest democracy in Turkey, okay, that freedom of speech is the greatest one in Turkey, is better than Europe, better than everywhere else. Keep telling every day. Okay, so this is very, very important. Then we need to tell them. And also, for example, the people, they are not allowed to receive any money from the outside, the inside of Turkey. I just give you one example. I just would like everybody hear it. Okay, we send the money to somebody else in Turkey. It's not big amount of money. It's not big amount of money. You know, you just, with that money, you just go and have a dinner for people in America in a restaurant. You can pay the 50 people money, meal. That amount of money, not big money. Okay, that money, that officer in Turkey, post office officer, denied to give him the money. He said that, look, because you are, involved with the KKK. Therefore, he said that you've been sucked by the government from the post. These people are not allowed to have the money, neither inside of the Turkey nor outside of Turkey. You can send the money. Okay, these people, as Bayram mentioned, that are not allowed to have the job. People not allowed to get the access to the medical treatment, proper medical treatment. People not allowed to go out to Turkey because they cannot have their passport. Okay, all these known, but we need to highlight it again and again and again. We will tell them again and again the same story. Okay, we keep telling them, look, guys, people dying every day, people dying due to the torture, people dying due to the not accessing the medical treatment, people dying because of lack of food, okay, then lack of other things. That is very important. We just keep telling the story again and again. There is no other way, because as we know that, okay, the human rights organization, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and all of them, okay, none of them have an access in Turkey to get the whole picture. Even Turkish people, they've been arrested or imprisoned or forced by police to go somewhere else. Okay, why? Because these people, they do not respect. For example, today, I think you may see in the Twitters, okay, one of the member of a constitutional court of Turkey, which is the highest court, okay, he spent all his life in prison. There is no extra day to spend, but he's not been released due to European Court, Human Rights Court decision. Okay, they don't respect. These people do not respect anything else. Okay, these people only respect, okay, the international community stood up with the Turkish people. That is the only way.
So, Dr. Bayram, with that, Dr. Chinar is saying that the human rights organization don't have access to, the facts inside Turkey. What do you think the role of our dialogue, our connection with each other between people outside and inside Turkey, and then the human rights organization actually through technology, the advances in technology that we're using now? Do you think that can be used instead of them going in person in Turkey, that we can connect with them and really show them the hard evidence of what's happening? And then, maybe we can work it out to, they can have full information on what's happening. Do you think that's possible, that make that connection, I mean real connection with people that are involved, that are people that are knowledgeable, the incredible, like what you guys are doing? Dr. Baram, you had a report, you did a 1,000-page report about this. How can this not be accessible to the human rights organization as a hard evidence to where they can start the action from there?
Well, human rights organizations know about my report, because I know that head of Human Rights Watch in Turkey was in the conference room when I released the report with Ömer Faruk Gergerlioğlu together. Basically, human rights organizations know about what is going on in Turkey. But the trouble is, as I said before, and other panelists said again and again, we are facing an authoritarian government who has no respect to the law, who has no respect to courts, who has no respect to anything but themselves, but their own ideology. And they are very good at propaganda. And in Turkey, within Turkey, they have got the monopoly of media, believe you me. hundreds of newspapers or TV channels were shut down or confiscated by them. So as far as I know, 95, 96% of TV channels, newspapers, or name it, you name it, all the channels or traditional media channels were being controlled by this government. And they work like TV channels and newspapers work like government's official paper like that. Okay, government's paper like that. So you don't hear anything real. Most of them are propaganda, or black propaganda. Let's know where it is. So what can we do? You said that how can we improve the situation, or how can we let people outside of Turkey know about what is going on in here? Well, here I give you an open checkbook, not with the money, but about information, okay? Because I don't have any money. As I told you before, I don't have money, but I give open checkbook to anyone who contact me through you, okay? Merge, that I can help them to find any kind of person, any kind of victim who are being oppressed by this regime, men, women, children, from any walks of life, journalists, ex-jurists, this and that, ex-lawyer, whomever you call, engineer, was this and that, so that they can talk to real people and gain real information about what is going on. But I shall warn everybody beforehand that the victims are so afraid, they were made so afraid, that many of them might decline to talk to anybody from outside, because believe you me, people are being threatened with their families, not by themselves, but with their families. And this is ordinary. This is ordinary in this country. For example, if policemen come and do not find me in the house, they may take my wife as a prisoner, and then and ask my wife. You will say, this is like a mafia style, justice, but happens in this country. Believe you me. And then they get me found through other people, saying that, look, if you come to our police station, this and that, your wife will be released. And this is not a lie, and I know there are many examples even in those reports. In one of examples I remember, the guy who police was looking for couldn't be found, and then they took prisoner his mother as prisoner and put her in police custody, and then she was kept there for maybe days, and they asked her, phone your son. If he comes to police station and surrender, we will release you. Otherwise, you will not be released. And this story is in the report, and it is being published. It is still in Turkish, but we are trying to translate it in English. But it is in the report, and this is a real story. This is the situation. So everybody is welcome. We would like to, not just myself, obviously, many people who are more courageous than me would happily help anyone who are interested in finding out what is going on in this country, who is interested in finding out the truth of what is happening. We are ready to help if anybody comes forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bayram. So that is really important. And I'm really, that's why you are one of our heroes here at the Global Dialogue for Justice. Your courage to speak up and your willingness to help and give information. And of course, I hope that one day you will get paid back, because I know your job was taken from you, your property was taken from you. And, we hopefully that there'll be one day that you're going to be repaid, for not just for what you're doing, but actually for everybody who was like fired from their jobs. And this unfairness, I think that someday we can do something to return not just the normalcy, but also to pay back those people who suffered so much, economically, also for what happened. So this kind of engagement that we're doing, and I'm trying to appeal to the educational community. So how many universities we have in the world? And what we're doing here is informative, it's educational, it's historical. And I think it's so important that we are here. And before, I'm going to ask Colonel Demirtas, because he's got this, we have access outside Turkey. And I think I'd like to engage, our educational community, the academic community. And I'd like to recognize one of American professors who is now coming forward, and he has pledged his support for our work. So Dr. Derek Thies from University of North Georgia, he's going to join us during the upcoming film night. We're going to get together during the launch of the docuseries. Is the scholarly documentary about the implications of 9/11 globally. And it's a scholarly project, but he's coming forward for the first time. And I really, truly appreciate it, because this might pave the way for more engagement, and for us sharing what we're doing here, the Global Dialogue for Justice, and everything else that's the effort of other organizations. So I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Derek Thies from University of North Georgia. So Colonel, I'd like to now ask you, because of the human rights organization, we have role like Dr. Chinar, you and I, Hallie Stunk, and Judge Yavush Aidan. I think the people like us can do something. And with Dr. Bayram inside Turkey, how much can we do, and how do we start to have this collaboration?
So first, we need to be courage, because we are rightful writers, and we have the power. And we need to promote, instead of interest, as I always tell, the rights. We need to promote the rights. And we are always in our educational life learning that the right is the most ultimate value. But we need to take this saying into our lives. We need to make it live. And we need to be role models. So, because fighting against some terrorist organizations is not always using weapons. We are using the judicial instruments. We are using the lawful instruments and methods. And by this humble fight, I can say, we are just proving it is possible to fight against criminals with these kind of peaceful instruments. And we are just playing a historical role, and we need to use only peaceful instruments. But also we need to be knowledgeable. So we need to learn the international system. We need to learn how the United Nations system works. We need to know also how judicial institutions work. For example, European Court of Human Rights. We need to read and learn, for example, the United Nations Charter. To be knowing these kind of things makes you also more and more strong. And this is a responsibility. So we mustn't calculate interests. We just say we are the responsible people in front of our future generations. So this responsibility feeling is the maybe most motivating instrument. So by calculating the results, it's not possible to have more, to have enough energy against these criminals. Just responsibility way of thinking, for me, for example, is enough.
Well, that is a really good idea, is to have the knowledge of, how organization work. But in my view, what I want to add to that, Dr. Chanar, you are an expert on this, is we are running out of time. So the Global Dialogue for Justice is, we're new, we're just beginning. And so if we have other organizations that that can complement, that can have something that's, we're not yet there. So if there's a complementary, purpose of other organizations, we want to identify them, because so that side by side we can move together, because we can't do this alone. I mean, it's very, very hard what we're doing here. And so what I'm trying to get at is maybe there are organizations in the UK, in Paris, in France, and in everywhere. We want to identify them, and maybe one of the dialogue for the round 2, our goal is to actually bring them together. And maybe we can have the dialogue and really see where the roadblocks, and then really go for it. Dr. Chanar, do you think we will find those organizations that are doing a different thing but we have the same purpose?
I'm sure there are lots of organizations would be happier to work with us. That's very important. But I think there are a few more things we need to do. First of all, we need to use effectively social media. That's very, very important. For example, we can send it targeted information to academic community, to educational communities, journalists, radio and TV presenters. It's very, very important. I think what I would like to suggest, we need to adopt a bottom-to-top approach to find a proper solution for this problem. For this reason, we need to engage with people from church, mosque, masjid, schools, universities, football grounds, cinemas, where the public gather. That's one thing we need to do. Secondly, as I mentioned previously, that we need to do targeted social media message to everybody. We send them not only organization as well as other people, for example, vice chancellors, deans of faculties, or head teachers, or priests, or imams, or whatever the people who are the key figure in that community, as well as for example, football clubs, footballers, or basketballs, who are sportsmen, sport persons. So we need to tell them there is a real genocide happening in Turkey, which need to be stopped as soon as possible. We need to work together in order to stop these. there's a huge amount of work to do in order to stop these, but this work need to have many people from every part of the world. Okay, that's very important. Additionally, for example, we need to do maybe once a month or every fortnight kind of meeting. We invite many people from the different walk of life in this meeting. Everybody giving the 2-minute, 3-minute time to get their view to be heard by others. Okay, we will invite the victims as well as other people. Then they show the people that what's happening. Additionally, then as you mentioned, that there are academics from your universities and other universities who would like to talk about this issue. We will invite those people as well. Then that is the way. There is no other way. It takes time, but everything is to some extent is our hand. Then if you work together, if we get those people involved in this dialogue, I'm sure we will find a better solution for this horrible problem in Turkey.
Yeah.
Your voice gone? No?
That's really good suggestion, Dr. Chinar. This is, remember that I took part in a people power revolution at EDSA in 1986. And that time, there was no internet, there was no Twitter, but we, like what you said, leaders and members of different organizations, different religious organizations, different community organizations have made a decision to come together and work together. And then these rallies within a few days were able to, convince those people that are against the protests and the people who are protesting against the Marcos regime for 20 years of brutal leadership in the country, that the people said enough and they were able to come together. So with your suggestion like that, I think it's a lot of work, but we are nearing the last phase of the Global Dialogue for Justice Round 1, and it's scheduled for September 5th. And Colonel, you are going to lead us on this one. So I know it's not a lot of time, but do you want to us to have more time to change the schedule, or we can do like a mini town hall? You think we can do this?
So we are trying to do that, but we are now collecting the stories of victims. But I need to highlight something. People and people's relatives are really afraid of this genocidal bureaucracy all around the world. It doesn't matter, it is not important, for example, some of them in Turkey, some of them outside Turkey, so they have their freedom. But in these conditions, even they are free now, they are really afraid of this genocidal bureaucracy. So this genocidal bureaucracy terrorizes the people all around the world. And people, they are not willing to share their own stories. So this is unbelievable, So such a fear which is fabricated by this genocidal bureaucracy. So this is a challenge for us. So I have lots of stories, but the people, the victims, and the relatives of the victims, the friends of the victims, they are not willing to share their stories with their names. So then I will try to find a solution for that. Maybe I will just explain the systematic of torture, how it is used as a means for handling this genocidal process, step by step. So I will try to find a solution, and it's not so easy, unfortunately, to share these stories, because So there are lots of touching stories, but they say, please don't share my name, don't share my view, don't share my. And this genocidal bureaucracy localizes the relatives. So I am free, but for example, the victim says, I am free, but my family members, they are not free. They are just hostages in Turkey. So when I share my own story, then this genocidal bureaucracy localizes my parents, my children, my relatives. So this is a challenge for me. I don't know yet how to solve this, but maybe we can discuss on this later on.
Yes, that's this is why the great thing about our continuing conversation here at the Global Dialogue for Justice is just like when they ask me what is a Global Dialogue for Justice. Well, if I can say it, describe it, it's just like a restaurant or a coffee shop inside the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul. So, and we have the opportunity to to share all these stories. And also, we are trying, like what you said, we're going to try to find a solution to this. And also, I'd like to recognize our audience. Colonel, you have somebody thanking you for what you're doing, and of course, our effort here at the Global Dialogue for Justice. So, thank you so much to our viewers, and we invite you to continue to support our conversation, our dialogue. And we have the September 5th. We're gonna stick to it, and then we're gonna talk about the round two. It's a continuing effort that we refuse to stay silent, and that is so important. So let's go ahead and say your final message to our viewers, Dr. Baram.
Thank you very much. Westerners, Western people, Western politicians, that they are so naive in their assumption that a head of state or members of a government cannot lie this much or this professionally. They are mistaken. In political Islamic ideology, these professional liars are thinking that they are making a jihad if they lie to progress further their cause. Please do not believe them. Do not credit them. They are smiling modest versions of ISIS. On ISIS, actually, they're on appearance, they may be smiling or look like modest, but in reality, they are as deadly as ISIS members or Taliban or this or that. They are just waiting right time to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Baram. Dr. Chinar, your message to our viewers, our global audience.
I would like to thank to all of them, first of all, but I would like to highlight once more that real social genocide is happening in Turkey now. We need to stop it.
Thank you so much. Colonel Demirtas, you are leading us on our final phase of the first round. Would you like to invite our viewers and, of course, tell us a little bit what's in store for us next week?
So next week we will share the stories who are the victims of societal genocide in Turkey, which is erdocide. But I need to not only invite our audience to watch our program, but also I need to tell something to the global public. So as all the people, all the public knows that Hitler was a child of a silent world. And now Erdogan and his genocidal bureaucracy is a product of a silent world. So please refuse to keep silent against these genocidal criminals, because this is a very, very dangerous threat to the humanity. Not only us as individuals, but all the humanity.
Thank you so much. And I'm really excited that we are continuing this conversation and a very important dialogue on what's happening in Turkey. And of course, each time we go on live broadcast, it gives us more courage and knowledge about not just what's happening in Turkey, but also what's happening in the world. So we'll see you soon. This is Merge from the Complicated Conversation Post 9/11 Project and the Global Dialogue for Justice. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.